Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen, for being part of this podcast. I'd like to introduce two wonderful people, Jonathan and Dan. And I'll give you, so first, welcome everyone to Ageless Podcast. In this podcast, we talk about censoring. We also talk about the alternative social media platforms. So what I'd like to do is introduce you to Jonathan Brewing. Now, Jonathan helps solve fundamental problems. He's got a degree in industrial design, and he's also he's shifted to nutritional medicine, autonomic response testing, and field control therapy. He was shocked at the degree of medical censorship, and on discovering Frege, Jonathan saw this platform as a change to the trend that was happening. So that's something we're going to be talking about throughout. Now, the other person is Dan, the family man, and who values relationships and families and their friends and his church. He loves technology. He's been a manager at for South Business and both internal IT, and he has managed in consultancy, haven't you? No, you talk about tri-state, New York, PJ. What does PJ mean?
Pennsylvania.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
and RA. And you're a general IT specialist. You've dabbled in programming, networking, server user support, and you were a United States Marine, and you're married with four children and
Yes,
a wonderful wife, obviously. Okay, gentlemen. So before we start, I just wanted to check with you, was there anything that made you smile today?
There's always something to make you smile.
So what was that, Jonathan? Something that made you smile today.
Some of the news, you have to smile at it, otherwise you could get really depressed. But I hear what's being said, and I just think, oh my goodness, where has the common sense go? So you just have to smile and move on to the next thing. But yeah, that's one of the things.
For me this morning, my granddaughter, she stayed with us here last night, and this morning we were dancing and singing songs and stuff. So yeah, she made me smile today.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, so what I thought we'd do is, I like to keep it pretty casual because I think things flow a lot better. So one of the topics that we were looking at is, there's a lot of censorship going on, and what I wanted to do was look at your experiences both with censorship and really just give you the platform to talk about what you've experienced with censorship and also with other platforms, because one thing that's really noticeable is that there's so much new tech startups now. There's so many platforms, alternative platforms, and when I say they're new, they've probably been set up in the last 4 years, and that's to counter a lot of the censorship. And the censorship that's happening is, it's not just for those that are into politics, but like I was interviewing a woman yesterday, Shan, and she got censored because one of her chocolate canes was seen as a sexual toy. And I mean, she's been with this group for, and censored. And this is from Facebook. And she's been censored, and then when her podcast will be up, and when we had, and they had a whole list of everything that they were censoring for, to do with body parts, to do with sex toy, and it's a cane chocolate, and she was just blown away, blown away. And so, as I say, you'll see that in the podcast, but we had a good laugh, and she had been with Facebook for 20 years, and they had never, ever complained about her products before. So what's something that you can share about censoring? And I'll just leave it open to you both as to
how my own experience of censorship started years ago. it was a real surprise. You know, I'd studied industrial design. There were no taboos. You just got on with it. You had ideas. You discussed. Everything went fine. And then, for various reasons, I changed, diverted completely over to nutritional medicine. And right away, I discovered that there are all sorts of things that you're not allowed to talk about. You know, in the UK, we have the Cancer Act. So merely mentioning the word cancer on a website is a complete taboo. You can't do that. And then I started realizing that actually many of the medicines that used to be used have been made taboo and censored. You know, I don't know if you realize, but cannabis was a primary tool for the medics in the early 1900s. It was absolutely a primary tool. And then the Rockefellers got hold of the whole pharmaceutical angle of medicine. It's not all bad, you know, they were trying to regime things and create standards and so on and so forth. But what happened is it really went off down one line exclusively. And then strange things happened, like cannabis was renamed marijuana. And there was a bill created to censor it and to cancel it and to make it a redundant product and not allow its use anymore. And of course, all the doctors knew cannabis. They didn't know what marijuana was, so none of them objected. All of a sudden, marijuana, cannabis, was removed from medical use. And that was a catastrophe for many years. And then I learned of turpentine. You know, I learned that turpentine had been used by slaves for years as a medical treatment, and that, you know, now has got skull and crossbones all over it, and it's, you know, it's not allowed to be used. Then I discovered Royal Raymond Rife. Royal Raymond Rife, a brilliant man, developed microscopes that we've never managed to match, and was able to tune frequencies to resolve viral and bacterial infections with frequency. All gone. Then you've got Nikola Tesla. I mean, it just goes on. So the idea that it's something new, it's not. But the way it's been ramped up now over the past very brief period is staggering. So yeah, over to you, Dan. I mean, what's your experience?
My experience with censoring just started when I started like speaking out on political things, you know. Prior to that, I really, you know, I've always kind of made comments related to things that were going on and stuff like that, but it was never as engaging as it's been in the last few years. I've been more vocal about things, and in my case, it was worse than censoring. I mean, my Facebook account was shut down completely. I'm not even able to log into my Facebook account. I tried to create another one, and I don't know if they had a way to track my device, but that account was not allowed to be created. They asked me to authenticate myself by providing, you know, my ID card, a picture of my my driver's license, and I played the game and I sent it to them, and nothing. And the last time I tried a couple days ago, just to you know, see if my account was activated again, it said that I had 30 days to dispute it, and if within that 30 days it wasn't turned on, it was going to be disabled permanently. And that was September 15th when my account was originally shut down. You know, I since, you know, to shut down a Facebook account for saying whatever remark, I wasn't boosting or, you know, advertising anything. I was speaking to my circle of influence, my friends and family, and obviously I was involved with, you know, you guys know Barry's group, and I was posting on that group, but not everyone in that group was shut down other than me and Barry. So I don't know what you know, what was the reasoning for them shutting me down that way.
So did you not get a notice? Did you not get a notice from them saying why they had shut you down?
No, none at all. The only thing it says to click on the help, and in the help it gave you some reasons why they would shut an account down, but that's it. Very vague, potentially violating community standards, hateful or violent stuff. I've never posted anything violent or hateful or anything of that nature, outside of maybe something I reposted that someone else put that might have been violence being, you know, being done towards somebody, but not anything myself saying anything violent or hateful towards anyone else. Just news. In fact, the very last thing I posted an article that had to do with the taxes in California. That was the last thing I posted that morning, and my friend commented on it, and then my wife replied to her comment. And then when I got home that evening, my wife goes, "Hey, did you see me and your friend were having a discussion based on that article?" And I said, "Oh, no." And when I logged in to check, my account was shut down. That was it.
Wow.
So I don't
So
know.
with your account, was it just mainly for social, to get social news, or was it also in regards to business?
My Facebook account was mostly social. When the hurricane happened a few years ago in Puerto Rico, I started a page called Puerto Rico Rebuilds, and that had about close to 2,000 followers. Nothing, I wouldn't post anything political there unless it was someone that maybe was a political figure in the States that had some kind of influence. Maybe it was someone originally from Puerto Rico that, you know, nothing that would be controversial. Um, I was a member of a couple of groups that were, you know, patriot groups here in the United States, but again, as the word, you know, and I would use the word worst one, but the one that might be considered controversial is the Truth News Now group that I was a member of, that was sharing information on, you know, things that were happening here in the U.S. and around the world. But outside of that,
So was it
that's how I use Facebook, mostly social.
right? Was it just one social media platform that shut you down, or was it several?
In my case, it was just Facebook, right?
It was Facebook.
My Twitter account. Yeah, I mostly use Facebook though. Like I have a Twitter account, but you know, once every few months I might post something on there, tweet
Because
something. But
they are linked together, aren't they? And yeah. Now, so what other, because I noticed with your group too, you have been looking at other social media platforms, and some of them were BitTube.
mhm. So with Truth News Now, we were exploring other avenues because we knew we had already seen a lot of people getting shut down, um, on Facebook and on Twitter. So we were looking for other avenues, like, and we heard about Parler. We opened a Parler account, and then we were doing some live streams as well. Barry was doing a weekly, almost daily, a few times a week. He was doing a live stream, and so Parler was one of them, but we were looking for a platform that you kind of mimics or has some of the same functionality that Facebook has. The problem there was finding a place or a platform that had the type of user base that Facebook. That's very difficult to find. So until people start kind of moving towards and just picking that platform and, you know, working out the kinks and stuff, I think it's going to be very difficult to get to that point where you have huge
Yeah,
amounts,
yeah,
large
like a
communities.
one-stop shop platform.
Yes.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Parler, I mean, it's had a lot of people, and I think it's over quite a few million now have joined Parler. Um,
Mhm.
it's people like it because they call it the world's town square, where they can speak freely and express themselves. It's also
Right.
been advocated as for those that um, like to follow Trump, and I don't believe that's completely true.
Mhm.
But I mean, people are going to say what they're going to say. Um,
Well,
so
what I told Barry, and you know, Parlor, when you go on Parlor, is mostly political. Mostly everyone that's on there is because they got, you know, shut down or censored in another platform. So they all swarm to this one platform, and they're all kind of talking. They're having a conversation with each other. But what I found most interesting about Facebook, and why I felt the need to kind of speak up, was because you want to reach those people that they haven't like seen the light, so to speak, yet, right? They haven't been awakened to the fact that of everything that's going on. They've just been following whatever the mainstream media feeds them or whatever Hollywood feeds them. And so they, that's the audience that I feel that we need to be speaking to. On Facebook, you have that because the community is so large there. Everyone's kind of connected, right?
And I got
And Parler, the term I use is you preaching to the choir, right? You posting stuff that probably when you post it, 20 other people already posted it. Everyone it's already knows what's going on. So that's where I feel there's a disconnect there, and we need something where it's usable for people across the board, regardless of your political leanings, and then you can try to bring in those audiences to try to hear you out, but it's very difficult to get to that point.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Sorry, go ahead.
So Jonathan, I'll just cover a few things. I understand about your censorship because didn't the same thing happen with Coke? And how they were using cocaine at one stage and they stopped that in the drinks.
Yeah, my understanding is that cocaine was in Coca-Cola at one point. Yeah.
Now,
okay.
One of the things you talked about was discovering Frigga and seeing this platform as changing the trend. Now, I know that there's pros and cons to things, but the one great thing about Jonathan is Jonathan has done a lot of the videos for Frigga. So Frigga is a Freedom Global Abundance platform. And I always like to say that Frigga actually has 3 platforms. It has a financial platform, a communication platform, and an e-commerce platform. Now, when you look at a lot of the groups that are out there, they are either just financial, where they deal with currencies, they are just social communication, or they are e-commerce. Now, Facebook actually had the whole lot. It did have the whole lot, and so it's finding groups that, but a lot of the smaller groups that were set up, they've now joined bigger conglomerates, it's really hard to find a group that hasn't done that. And so what I wanted to ask you, Jonathan, is if you can tell me why you think that Frigga is the platform that can change the trend of censorship.
Well, Anne-Marie, when I came to Frigga, we didn't have the Frigga Hub platform. The social end wasn't there yet. What really interested me was, as I said, I was working in medicine and communicating on medicine, and we wanted to talk about things like vaccines and so on. Every time we did, our posts got pulled down or people got shut down. And it didn't seem right that I should be creating material and adding to the value of something for Zuckerberg and crew, only to be told what it is that I'm allowed to contribute. It just didn't make any sense to me. So when I met with Paddy, we spent a long time discussing how Frigga is set up. And the purpose of Frigga, as you say, it stands for Freedom Global Abundance. And it's all about ownership. It's about, if you post something on Facebook, as soon as it's posted, it's theirs. That's it, done. If you post something on Frigga, it's still yours, your content. But that's true right the way through the platform. And what I was discussing with Paddy early on was Friggonomics. And Friggonomics is the whole idea of owning the platform, all of us owning the platform. Every person who contributes in any way, whether it's material, whether it's content, we all take a share of the platform. And that is the beauty of it. That's what it's all about. Because what you need to understand is enterprise value. If I give you £1, you get £1. If I give you $1, you get $1. If £1 or $1 goes into a platform, and that platform grows, that pound or dollar could be worth £10 or $10. It could be worth £100 or $100. So you have a multiple. The amount of money going through the platform times the number of people using it creates the value of the whole platform. So as we put a penny in, we can be sharing a penny's worth of the platform, but as the platform grows, that penny now is worth 10 pennies, 20 pennies, 50 pennies, £1. So we all gain in enterprise value. So money in personal pocket is worth much less than money in a business. And if we put a little in, we can pull a lot out. And it's not a con, it's just because of the enterprise value. Think about it. How much is Facebook worth? And why is it worth that amount? It's not worth that amount because of the money that's been invested. It's worth that amount because of the number of contributors. It's because it's the size of a large country. Now, what we're saying with Frigga is we're saying, look, we've got people all over the world. We've got people in very poor countries. We've got people in very wealthy countries, and we've got people in the middle of the road. And all of us should have an equal shake of the dice. You know, we should all be able to contribute. We should all be able to receive, and we should all be able to benefit. And that's what I liked about Frigga. And the platform that we now have, Frigga Hub, is the opportunity for all of us to discuss and communicate whilst using the other tools. You know, you mentioned the e-commerce, that's coming on really hard and fast. You also mentioned the financial, you know, we've got Frigga Money's coming on with all the financial services. Now, I don't know about you, but I prefer to own my own bank. You know, I don't want to put money into somebody else's bank where they go off and invest it in war. That's not my idea of, you know, I would rather try and put money through where we as a community then have the opportunity to say, you know what, okay, if we buy energy from this organization or buy energy from that organization, we've got sufficient people in an area where we can pull the prices down and we can tell them that we're only going to use fuel if it's responsibly created. We can do all of these things as a community. And that is what's behind Frigga. It's so much more than just a platform that's an alternative for Facebook. It really is. It's an entirely different footing. It's taking back ownership of the content, the finance, the running, the creation, the development, and everybody gets the opportunity to invest a few pounds in development of the platforms, of the applications, and we all move ahead together. And that's really, you know, Dan, you kind of said, well, how do you get the people in? That's the challenge, isn't it? You've got somebody like Facebook so enormous, but I think there's an awful lot of us who are fed up to the back teeth of being told what to do and by who. And we need to take our own power back. And by all of us conglomerating, coming back into a platform where we can all share ownership, we can build that platform out. The faster we get involved, the faster it builds, and so on. So that's the kind of excitement behind Frigga.
Very agree.
Yeah, and it's good because what you're also talking about is sustainability. Now, when I've been looking at other platforms, I noticed a lot of them need some form of, because to have any form of platform, it takes money. Now, the beauty about Frigga is that the members actually co-fund the platform. It's not always easy because obviously the more we co-fund it, the better, the quicker we can get our apps up and running. So it's also getting people to change their way of thinking, because people are not, like you talk about shareholders and things, but we're not actually shareholders, we co-own, which is different again.
Yeah, you co-own.
Syndicates, and it's getting your head around that. Now, when I talk about sustainability, what I have noticed is that a lot of platforms, so they'll fund really hard to get there, and there's a lot of platforms that have closed down, and that's why they've sold off to the big conglomerates, because they're not sustainable. I believe that Frigga is sustainable because of the algorithm that we've done, which creates passive income in so many things that we do, and also because of the we're using actuarial math, so we've taken out the middle person, and that makes a difference. So it's almost like peer-to-peer, but it's peer-to-peer in a way that's actually sustainable. So now there's also some like when I was talking, we also know too with Frigga that there's some things that could be improved on. And one of the things, Dan, I wanted to talk to you about is because I noticed in your group, you were looking at, because YouTube, for example, we know now that that's taken over by Facebook as well. So people are getting censored from YouTube too. Yet, as part of your social group, you need to have a platform that downloads, where you can download videos. And I have noticed with BitTube and also Library, they you can do videos with them, but it's a peer-to-peer. So and they're moving to blockchain. So talking about the sustainability, people are still liking the idea of cryptocurrencies. However, Frigga did look at cryptocurrencies, but we moved away from that idea. Now, Jonathan, you're best to explain why we did that.
So it's really all about underpin. It's about, you know, is there a value that you understand at the end of the day? I do appreciate that things like Bitcoin and so on do have a value, but it is a highly speculative value, and it's a value which is determined by the enthusiasm for the coin at the time. Whereas with Frigga, what's actually happening is that every time a fee is created, whether that's a service charge or an admin fee or whatever, just a tiny amount of money, that money is actually split and shoots out in 6,000 directions, so that 6,000 members get a fraction of a penny all over the world. A transaction that happens in Germany can benefit somebody in Ghana, it can benefit somebody in Australia, it can benefit somebody in America, it can benefit somebody in Scotland. All of that. So there's this micro transactions happening all over the place in fiat currency, in real money. And like it or not, we're still wedded to the idea of money. We know what money is. A dollar in the hand is a dollar in the hand. You know, that's the underpin. And you can go and you can pay your rent, you can pay your mortgage, you can buy your food with that. We're familiar with that. And that in turn actually is underpinned by property and assets. So people get the wrong idea about debt money. You know, they think that debt money is fake money. It's actual real money. You know, if your property is mortgaged, then the money that the bank is multiplying up on is based on the value of your property. So all of it goes back to real substance. Now you've got your tangible money that's being distributed into the platform. The platform is growing. So now you have a multiple. So you have this asset, and the tokens within Frigga are tokens backed with an underpin. Think of it like this. If you have two properties, they're identical properties. One of them is in the middle of nowhere and nobody wants to live in it. And the other one is an identical property in the middle of London and everybody wants to live in it. This one, you get no rent. This one, you get £5,000 a month. If you're getting £5,000 a month, this property is now worth £500,000. This one's worth nothing. So the tokens, the underpin value of our Frigga tokens is that constant feed. It's like the rent paying on the token. So when you own a Frigga token, what you're actually owning is a constant stream of revenue. And that constant stream of revenue, as the platform grows, is growing as well. So the token increases because it's got more and more rent coming in to support it. And then if you wanted to have a stream of revenue, you could buy my token, which has that stream of revenue, and we can haggle about the price. But you know that there's a real tangible underpin to the money, to the token, I should say.
And in regard to the sustainability, because of the passive income, we've also set it up so that the money goes into certain accounts. And so say, for example, we wanted to support a church or to support an organisation, as the money builds up, it's actually available for that.
Yes.
And that's what I like, is money is distributed in so many places so that we can, in the long run, be sustainable and we can support those causes that we want to.
Yeah, that's right. So you've got the reward token, you've got the social token, and a certain percentage of the money that comes into your account comes in with the condition that you'll kind of pay it forward into a social project. And that's a great way of just keeping, it's just, you know, pennies here and pennies there, just to kick the thing over, just to And as it grows and as it grows and as it grows, we suddenly have this great big storm building with more and more revenue that can turn over and support all of us.
Mm. And Frega is able to do that because we don't employ anyone. We don't have massive shareholders. So when you look at it, a lot of the big companies, they do have the shareholders where a lot of the funds get distributed to. Whereas with Frega, that doesn't exist. And our overheads are quite low. Have you come across that with any other platform, Jonathan and Dan? A very similar setup?
Not like this. I'm not familiar with anything else, no.
Yeah, I have been looking. I'm still looking.
Yeah.
As I say, I've seen the financial areas where but they've used cryptocurrency. And
Right.
as I say, the only one basically is Facebook. But again, we know that they monetize our, our data, and so they pay you for certain things. So Dan, have you ever been paid for your content from Facebook?
Never.
You know, some people do get paid for content creators.
There's a platform called Steemit. I don't know if you guys heard of it, that is based on cryptocurrencies.
Yes.
And I think I don't know how the algorithm works or how you're paid. I set up an account a while back, and now they have that D2 connection, but it doesn't compare to the functionality you get with Frega and all the, you know, the different applications that are going to be running on that. So.
Well, I think BitTube was the same because I started compiling some notes on
BitTube, yeah.
BitTube is the same, but how they work is they use the Avalon Hyperledger. But what people don't realize is with Hyperledgers, because there's so with Hyperledgers, for example, they were set up purely for businesses. Because businesses can't use public blockchain, and that's where DTube is using now is I'll just bring up my notes and the reason a lot of people use them, but they're IPFS, which means they're an interplanetary file system. So again, it's a peer-to-peer hypermedia protocol, so that's where they're sharing data over the internet. But again, you've got issues with security that can happen there, and people need to be sharing their computers. So that's what peer-to-peer file sharing is, and that's also what the other group, who's the new one, the one that you were looking at, I noticed, BitTube, they're the same. And even Library and Odyssey, they have a similar thing. So they're not stored on servers. You're using your computer to store some of that data. And
the other thing, Anne-Marie, that's really very different is the content management. You know, that's the thing that's also something I've not seen anywhere else. You know, with Frega, the whole purpose is to connect everything. So when you're sharing videos, you need to be able to refer to them. You need to be able to see who's watching them. You need to be able to see who you've been in touch with before. If you're running a business, how are you connected? Have you been in touch with your customers recently? When was the last time they were on your hub page? When did you last send them a quick message? All of these things, and it's those points of contact. We know that points of contact lead to business. And within Frega, if you've put up a hub page, for example, and you've got followers, one click, you get a list of all the followers. You can look at it, who's been into your hub page most recently and who's been sort of neglected for a while. You can send them a chat message. Oh, I noticed you haven't been in on my hub page recently. Is there anything I can do to help you? All those kinds of communication touch points. And it's very important because these days we're distracted by so many different forms of media and all sorts of other things that it's easy to get a great contact that you really want to be in touch with, but you lose track of them. They're gone and they're off doing something that you wanted to do with them with somebody else. And within Frega, you have the opportunity to very quickly see, oh God, George, I haven't been in touch with George. Let me quickly connect with him. One click, open up a chat book and start messaging or video call, or, you know, and that that is what it's all about. It's these relationships and keeping those alive.
And COVID has changed the way we communicate with each other, hasn't it? Like,
absolutely.
Yes.
More and more people are
like
happy
the
to
one-on-one.
communicate.
Yeah, but the reality is we are having to use teleconferencing facilities more and more. Now, so Dan, how are you finding Frigga? And it's okay, you can talk about your experiences, both pros and cons with Frigga. So, when you joined, and how are you finding it since you joined Frigga?
So far, I mean, there's some stuff that's a little buggy, but I'm I'm a little old school in the sense that I like to use applications on my computer. I know a lot of people like to use their phones for stuff. My phone, I use it for my phone and some apps, but anything that's browser based, I don't bother to do it on the phone ever. I do it on the computer. So right now, my experience with Frigga has been positive because I haven't run into all the issues that some of the other users have that are trying to use the browser on the phone. When I first signed up, I had a small problem when I was putting in my password. It wasn't, and then I found out if I tried Chrome versus Safari, it worked. It worked with no problem there. And I've tinkered around the different areas in Frigga, and I see the functionality being added, especially with the tag it and bag it and everything. It's been good. I like it, and I see huge potential, with the financial side of it, and also even with the social parts of it. And definitely I see that it's going to be a great platform.
So, although initially you were looking for more of a social platform, do you think the other aspects of Frigga would to be appealing to you? The fact that it does have that financial side and the e-commerce, would that encourage you to look at your business ideas? Because you're very skilled when it comes to IT and the support that you offer others.
Yes. Well, definitely. I I'm pretty good with the customer service side. So for some reason, as a support person, people tell me all the time, "Hey, you explain things a little bit better, and you're more patient with us." So um, it's just I don't know. I've been around technology for a long time, so I kind of understand that it's not always going to work exactly how you want to, and sometimes there's workarounds. And if you're patient with it, eventually those features will be added, and then things will work the way you want them to. But sometimes it takes a little bit of time. Um, yeah, so I could see myself helping other people get familiarized with the different parts of Frigga. Um, and I'm interested in being a consultant. I think that's great to have an opportunity because you can teach others how to use the platform and show them how valuable the platform could be for them in their personal life and also in their business. So, yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I think the consultancy side is really going to be taking off. You mentioned, Anne-Marie, that we don't have employees. That's true. So everybody's kind of a freelancer, and we're familiar with this with many of the businesses these days. You can be an Uber driver. You're not employed by Uber, but you're a freelancer. You're taking a proportion of the revenue, and within Frigga that happens as well. So if you're a consultant, everybody gets a proportion of the revenue, but clearly those people who are helping everybody else, they get a second bite of the cherry. They get more of the revenue, more of the distributed revenue on the platform. And that then allows newcomers to come in, to be completely lost and click on help, find a mentor, a consultant, and then get shown around. And they'll very quickly realize there's more to it than a single platform. And the money aspect, is a genuine one. And what we're going to see is that many of the people who are unbanked can become banked. And that's another thing that everybody's been trying to crack. You know, how do you crack that unbanked to banked situation where people can't have access to financial services? How do you crack it? Well, you crack it by giving them a source of revenue. And if they become active within Frigga and they start getting involved, they can create themselves a source of revenue sufficient to pay then their $1 per month for a bank account, which then gives them access to financial services. So it really does open a door. Also, if you think of people in developing nations, they can be brilliant consultants. They're going to get in there, they're going to dig, they're going to find the gold, they're going to find out how to help people, they're going to be able to help the roofer in London, you know, from whichever country they're in. They're going to say, listen, get your people into your contact book. This is how to use it. This is how to stay in contact. This is how to use the platform. And they then get a genuine revenue stream that can help them out enormously. So it's all dovetailing. It's all about helping one another out, being part of a bigger platform, being part of something that grows. Then we're going to have third-party developers can develop their products, bring them to the platform, share a portion of the revenue out with everybody who's there, and the whole thing can mushroom. You know, it's at the moment it's a seed. It's still a seed. People who are getting in right now are contributing. We're getting involved because we see the potential. It's not going to be long. We're talking months before third-party developers go, hold on a minute, this is growing fast now. And I'm a third-party developer putting stuff on other platforms and nobody ever sees it. Nobody ever gets to use it. No, you know, I don't get any benefit from it. Let me try putting it onto the Frigga platform. Well, you know what? When people start seeing that, things are going to happen.
Yeah.
So are there APIs now that developers can just plug into to start building their applications on Frigga? Or are you referring to like just, you know, developers that just start to contribute to the Frigga project? I don't know how that works.
I think there's a bit of both at the moment.
Yeah, we're still working on that.
There will be APIs, but yeah, I mean, there's some workarounds that still need to be done, but there are already there are tools out there already that
Zoom's a classic example. Our integration with Zoom. Now that's a developer, and that's huge. And actually, we're doing this podcast on Frigga Rooms, which is our Zoom integration.
Yeah, that's it. So right there, you know, you've got a whole massive platform, which is Zoom, integrated into Frigga. We call our version Frigga Rooms. That's also going to integrate with finances as well. So while we're on this call, just not long from now, we'd actually be able to, you know, I could be talking to you about my course that I'm doing, and would you like to? The button is right there on the Frigga platform. You click the button and make the purchase while we're on the Frigga Rooms call. So we create that live commerce, and it's another thing which is just around the corner. But we also been looking at various applications that are out there on the market, and we can bring them over to Frigga with a little bit of adjustment. They can work, and then all of those people who are using that application get a little button that says, you know, would you like to know some more? Would you like to get involved? They then suddenly have their own Frigga account, and they can start connecting through to the hub of the owner of the app. And that starts creating much more connectivity again. So we can then bring, you know, thousands of users of an application into the platform just by saying, here, come over, see what there is. So there's going to be some explosive growth as soon as those things start coming together.
Very cool.
Because even like streaming, I was talking with Anita about the streaming. We can, so because we've already got our Frigga Rooms, we can connect OBS, which is another software, and straight away you've got the zooming going on by integrating it with Frigga Rooms, and it looks pretty cool. And because I've looked at other streaming services too, but there is a cost to them, which is fine. But if we can bring an existing software to our Frigga Rooms that can give us the same, so you might need to get a camera, have another laptop, but it's still a lot more affordable. And it's quite exciting with Frigga, because we've got the potential to put our heads together um, and make it even better. We're continuously evolving, like Jonathan said, you know, and we are
Yeah.
still a seed, but we're a good seed.
Yes.
And very
Yeah.
sustainable, healthy seed.
That's important.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and as you said, Anna Marie, it's not a question of feeding the shareholders first. It's just if you choose to co-invest in one of the applications, then as it grows, you get a growing share of the revenue.
Yeah.
So everything is scaled. Everything, you know, little, you get little. As it grows, you get more and more. But it doesn't cost the bank, and it doesn't mean that you have to go for capital call after capital call after capital call. Everything is calculated at the seed value, and then it grows. And that's this beautiful way of working.
And I guess that's too why because there's some people that say, yeah, but you're missing, you know, miss the bows and things, but we're not, because we're doing it naturally. Frigga is organic. It's growing the way it should do. It's not being force fed or stuff with the stuff it shouldn't have. You know, it's happening naturally. And we're finding that, aren't we, Jonathan? As more and more people come on, the right people are coming in. It's trusting the process, and it's amazing what I believe is happening with Frigga.
Yeah, and we, you know, the multiplier is the magic thing. And as soon as consultants like yourself, Dan, come on board, and people come in, and you, Anne Marie, you know, you just
you mean the dev? Because yeah, and talking about the third party apps, I've already prepared with the dev testing team for the third party apps to come, because there's what you were saying, we've got those that are already in place and they can come over, but we're going to have like a lot of our youth in particular will be wanting to design apps, and will need funding. And so because of the way Frigga is set up, we will be able to cater for them. And so as the dev testing team, you know, I've already worked on how we can cater for that, to allow growth, because there is going to be a big scale up, you know, and all throughout Frigga we're scaling up our areas, and that will happen organically. That will happen, and
Yeah,
the support's there, and the passion's there from the people.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And the consultants are going to be, you know, that's coming a week or two from now. You guys are going to plug in and help people understand the platform. As soon as you understand the platform, well, it's a communication platform. So what are you going to do? You're going to communicate with other people. How many are you going to communicate with? Well, let's start with 5. Put 5 people into your list. Contact them on the platform. You've just got 5 new members. Okay, now you pick up 1 or 2 of those, and you get another 5 for each of those. And that's the way that whole thing is just going to scale out very rapidly. And as it scales out, that gives us more revenue to put into the development, which speeds everything up, and it can really mushroom. So that's what we're looking at.
It's definitely gonna snowball. I mean, one of the things that Patty was saying in one of the calls is that, you know, there's multiple points of entry. People are gonna come to Frigga for different reasons, but they're gonna be on the same platform, and so the platform's inevitably gonna grow. It's gonna grow organically at some point where you're not even trying to bring people in. It's just going to continue to grow on its own, because just the functionality is there.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of it, is that it's not one thing, it's everything.
Yeah.
You know, and when you join too, it doesn't cost to join, and it doesn't cost to join because we've managed to keep all those overheads in the way the algorithm works. We can cater for that as well. And so that's what has been attractive too for people, is that you do start with something. You start with your hub, you start with your website, you know, you start with your financial platform, and even your e-commerce. There is tools, very useful tools that you can use right now.
That's right. I mean, it's really magical that you can actually set up a web page effectively for yourself and have a communication portal all there right in front of you in a matter of minutes. And now you can put that onto your business card. People can connect with you, and they can do so much more than just chat.
Right.
Oh, that's been really wonderful. Now, is there anything else that you would like to say before we tie this up about anything?
I just really hope that the time right now is the time of like lancing a boil, and that we get through this and out the other side and back into some sense of freedom, because right now it feels very strange.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's so strange here. Here too. Everything's yeah, very weird the times we're living in, but yeah.
Yeah. There's always a rainbow at the end of the day. So
Absolutely.
break us by one.
I'm very optimistic about what's possible now. I think we just, the bad stuff's been going on for a long time. It's just come out into the open right now. So now everybody's seeing it, and it's time to put things right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so there's always hope, because we now are actually seeing it. we sensed it before, now it's right there in our faces.
Right. I guess that's why they call it the Great Awakening. They call it that for a reason. In so many different areas, even the stuff you was talking about earlier, Jonathan, with the nutrition. You know, a while back I was like pre-diabetic and a lot of stuff happening with my health, and I started learning about intermittent fasting and the benefits of fasting and stuff like that. And I was like, wait a minute, the Bible talks about this stuff.
Yep.
Like they use these methods way back. And but now they don't talk about it, and it's because in one of the videos I watched, it, you know, one of the doctors was saying people don't promote that, even though there's so many health benefits, because it's not profitable. Nobody's profitable, you know, able to profit off of that. So they don't share that. They don't, you know, they try to suppress that. Actually, back to the whole thing on suppression. Why do they suppress? Why do they censor? Well, because people at the top don't want you to talk about stuff that's going to keep them from making money. So,
you know, if we're not careful, we're all guilty of it, just to a smaller degree. And I think
sure,
it's easy to point the finger, and
it's human condition. It's human nature.
Yeah, we all do it to a degree, and when it becomes big, it's a horrible problem. So I think we all have to do our best.
Yeah, which we just experienced.
Yeah, we have to do our best to take personal responsibility and try to be straight with everybody every moment, and that's not always easy, I find.
Yeah.
But
and in a way, you're right, Dan. It's about the basics. It's going back to the basics, and it's keeping things simple, and it's that transparency as well. You know, and not wanting to control everything, just trusting the process, keeping things simple.
Yeah. We're not in charge, even if we think we are.
Yeah.
Yes, the universe is a way of being quite precise with us.
Yeah.
But I really want to thank you both, Dan and Jonathan. I really appreciate having you both here. It's been
thank you for having me.
lovely.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Dan.
Nice to meet you, Jonathan. Very nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, lovely to meet you properly, Dan. All right. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.